Welcome to City Life. I'm Beverly Thompson. Did you know that there is a free website that can help you pinpoint where crime is happening in your neighborhood? Joining me to talk about raids online and how you can use information from this website to help fight crime in your neighborhood is Jason Sheets. Jason is the Analytical Services Manager for the Durham Police Department, and his team is responsible for managing raids online. Jason, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So Jason, I know the police department has moved in the last decade to start using more data-driven strategies to help prevent crime as well as to solve crimes. Why is this considered the best practice in the nation right now in terms of modern crime fighting? And how does raids online actually factor into that?
Well, Beverly, like any business, a police department has limited resources. Mm-hmm. So really data-driven policing seeks to deploy those resources in the most efficient way possible. Not only where crime happens, but when it happens. Mm-hmm. So Raids Online, which stands for Regional Analysis and Information Sharing, is a website run by Bear Analytics. And they've partnered with about 1,000 law enforcement agencies around the country, including 32 here in North Carolina, mm-hmm. so that we have a very user-friendly and easy way of communicating crime information to the public through a mapping interface that is intuitive and easy for them to use and interact with in a meaningful way. Mm-hmm. And this really helps for us to not only educate the public, but also for us to get responses back from the public about what they're seeing. Uh-huh. This is truly an example of police-community partnerships mm-hmm. in fighting crime. Mm-hmm.
So it really does engage the public in helping the whole crime-fighting effort. So tell me, what kind of crime information does it contain?
Well, Raids Online includes all what's considered Part 1 and Part 2 crimes. Those are designations that are set by the FBI, and it's essentially all crime reports to law enforcement. Part 1 crimes are the most serious ones that people think of, things like homicide and rape and burglary and larceny and stolen cars, that type of thing. And the Part 2 crimes are less serious, but often contribute toward quality of life issues for the community. Things like weapon violations, drug violations, DUIs, vandalism, that kind of thing.
So what can the average user do with that information once they go to the website?
Well, when they go to the website, they can interact with the crime data in almost any way they want. So, for instance, they can put in a specific address, say their home, their school, work, or anything like that, and they can search for crime that happens anywhere in the city or within a specific radius around that address. So they only wanted to see crime that happened in the last 2 weeks within a half a mile of their home. They can do that, and they can even pick and choose what kinds of crimes they want to see. If they're not interested in seeing DUIs and things like that, but they want to see things like, you know, break-ins to cars, they can view that information.
Wow, it's pretty granular. Well, is it easy to use? I mean, you would think with that much information it would be maybe a little confusing or a little tricky, I guess, to get the information that you're looking for.
Well, I think the design of the website is really intended to be user-friendly to people who don't have a huge amount of technical knowledge. So, first of all, the interface is based upon a simple mapping interface like Google Maps, for instance, that a lot of people are just used to interacting with, whether it be on the internet or on their smartphones or whatever. So it's not a unique mapping interface that they have to learn. And it's also very intuitive because all of the things that I mentioned that you can select, like the date range and the types of crimes, those are all available as selections down the left-hand side of the screen, and they can just kind of pick and choose and click on and off what they want to see. But if they're still having problems, there is an extensive, frequently asked questions area of the site and tutorial that explains how to use all of the tools that are available, from the very simple ones to the more complex ones.
And the link to this site is on the Durham Police Department's webpage?
It is. The simplest way to get to it is just www.raidsonline.com. That's RAIDS online.com.
Okay.
But if people don't remember that, they can go to durhampolice.com and they can access that link from the crime information area of the site.
And we'll repeat this again at the end of the show, but I just wanted to go ahead and give people a heads up as to, you know, where it is. But give our viewers an example of some other types of data that might be on this website and why they may find it useful information.
Well, the site also maintains information on registered sex offenders, so they can interact with that data, and that's not something that we provide. They get that from an alternate source. They also have the ability to sign up for automated crime alerts by email. So they can go and fill out a form and put in an email address and say, I want to receive updates about crime by email either daily, weekly, or monthly. And within that interface, again, just like within the live site, they can pick just a radius around a specific address. They can choose what types of crimes they want to be notified about. So they don't have to go out and look. They can get that information pushed to them.
Wow, that's pretty good, huh? So how does the information on Raids Online actually empower people to fight crime? I just need to understand a little bit more about the empowerment of it.
Well, I think the empowerment is that people don't have to directly contact the police department to find out that information. First of all, the information is updated regularly. It's updated every day. So it's very current, represents the current information that the police department has in terms of crime that's happening at the community level. And I think that's where the empowerment is that people can go in and see what's happening in their neighborhood. That keeps them informed. It gives them a way to interact with each other, either through some of the PAC listservs or maybe their neighborhood listservs. So they have the information that they can use to then have a dialogue, either within their community, their neighborhood watch groups, or if they want to, they can use that information to then interact with the police department if they want more information, or perhaps they've seen something that can provide a tip to us. They don't have to contact us with that. They can even submit a tip anonymously right from the website just by clicking a crime dot or a crime incident icon. There's a pop-up window that comes up, and they can submit a tip to the police department directly through that interface if they don't want to call us or reveal who they are.
Okay, so I can see then how it might help the police department solve crimes as well.
Right, and we'll never know all the different ways that it can do that because sometimes it's difficult to measure what doesn't happen. So the fact that somebody spots a suspicious van in their neighborhood and calls in, and so a police officer maybe comes into the area and discourages that individual from committing crimes, we may not become aware of that, but it certainly provides the vehicle for there to be interaction and dialogue and information sharing between the police department and the community. And I think that's what's really empowering for the community is that they feel like that they have access to that information and that they have a way to interact with the police department in order to make their neighborhood safer.
Now I know for a long time we actually had two Crime Mappers up. One was actually called Crime Mapper, and we decided to stop using Crime Mapper. Can you tell us a little bit more about why we actually just stopped using it?
Sure. Crime Mapper was a great program. It was created back in 2005 as a custom application that the City County GIS department created. And it was great for its time. It provided just Part 1 crime data, so it didn't provide everything. And the mapping interface was a little bit more antiquated compared to the modern interfaces now. But it did a great job of doing the same thing. We've been sharing public crime data with the public for 10 years now. But unfortunately, it was a system that really wasn't able to evolve over time. So we couldn't update the functionality and the capabilities of it. And ultimately, the vendor that supports the underlying software, they stopped supporting it. So it wasn't something that the GIS department could really continue to maintain. Raids Online, both of them ran concurrently for 5 years. Raids Online proved itself over that time period to be a very useful way to communicate that same information and even more. So it didn't make any sense operationally to operate both systems moving forward.
Okay, so the rumors that are out there about the public not having access to crime fighting information, it's not accurate.
No, it's not. As a matter of fact, they have access to the same information that they had, plus more. If they were used to Crime Mapper and just weren't familiar with Raids Online, I think when they go there, they'll see that not only could they get the information that they got from Crime Mapper, but they can get even more information. And it'll be even more user-friendly for them. So shutting down Crime Mapper was only an operational decision to stop supporting a system that no longer could be supported by the vendor. It couldn't evolve, It was certainly not an effort to restrict or deny the public access to that information. We had just found a better way of doing it, and that's what we're continuing to use moving forward. And I also want to point out that it's completely free. Raids Online doesn't cost the city of Durham anything. That's a free partnership between us and them, and it's also free to the public to interact with and use.
Okay, that sounds good. Wanted to ask you too, what about the fact that third-party vendors, I think, found Crime Mapper a more friendly tool for them to use for their own purposes? What are we doing about that? I mean, is that something that the city is obliged to do, to provide information?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, it's really impossible for us to know and understand all the different people and entities that utilize these services and how they utilize them. So because Crime Mapper was a city-county government-run application, it was completely open and allowed third parties, whoever they may be, to go and copy that information over to some other site or for some other purpose and use, which is totally fine. The information is public data. It belongs to the citizens. That's great. With Raids Online, the vendor actually performs a lot of work in order to make the data that we submit even better. They check all of the addresses and improve the mapping functionality. They do things to that information to improve it. And so to protect their own intellectual property, they restrict third parties from taking that information and the product of their work and using it for other purposes. And that's certainly their right to do. It's not a restriction that the city has placed on it. But recognizing now that people were using Crime Mapper that way, we're currently working on a solution to provide the same information in an alternate way so that people don't run against that restriction or that roadblock that they perceive exists.
Okay. Now, there's a new initiative called Open Data. It's a joint initiative between the city and the county. How does Raids Online, or even the information that we provide for Raids Online, interact with that open data process?
Well, we don't anticipate that it's going to directly interact with that process, but the same information that we supply to Raids Online, we will certainly make available to that open data initiative that the city and county is going to be engaged in. Exactly how that's going to look, we don't know yet because it's not been fully implemented and deployed and the architecture hasn't been decided upon.
I see.
But we'll make the information available through that outlet. It'll be the same information, so no direct interaction, but essentially the same information will be available.
And it is all about access, and the information is free, so essentially nothing's being taken away when it comes to information about police activity or crimes that are happening in neighborhoods or throughout the city.
No, ma'am. It's like I said, it's very important for the police department to provide that information. We're not required to maintain our relationship with Raids Online. We weren't required to create Crime Mapper, but we made that decision 10 years ago in order to improve that police-community partnership. So we certainly have no desire or intent now to stop that or restrict that. It's a very positive thing. We want to encourage that moving forward.
Good, good. If our viewers want to check out Raids Online for themselves, tell us again how we can find it and actually start using it, and if there are any questions, what resources they have.
Certainly. So there's a couple different ways they can get to it. One would be just www.raidsonline.com. That's R-A-I-D-S online with no punctuation or spaces in between those two words. And then they can just simply select the city of Durham from the list of agencies on the left-hand side. And by the way, Durham County information is on there as well. And it's in the same viewer interface, so it's seamless across both agencies. Or they can also go to the Durham Police website. That's www.durhampolice.com. They can click on a link on the right-hand side for crime information, and there's a link to Raids Online there.
So if there's anything you want our viewers to walk away from the show with in terms of information about Raids Online, what would it be?
Well, it would be that we've gone through a lot of effort to make sure that the information that is useful and is public and is useful for their purposes is available on demand. They don't have to contact us. It's on demand and available for them to go interact with. it's current, it's relevant, and they can use it for whatever decisions they have to make.
Okay. Jason, thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you joining us today. Some very useful information for our community.
Thank you for having me.
All right. That does it for City Life. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and watch us on Durham Television Network and on YouTube. Also, don't go away, because immediately after this show, you'll get a sneak peek at what's to come in the next edition of Durham Magazine, and while you'll want to grab a copy for yourself. I'm Beverly Thompson. Thank you for joining me to learn more about City Life in Durham.
Everyone. Along with our publications, Durham Magazine produces events that bring our pages to life. In March and April, you do not want to miss Taste 2015, a celebration of food and drink. Durham's food scene is among the best in the country, and that's why we launched Taste. Are you a huge fan of barbecue, beer, and blues music? Our March 7th event combines all three. Do you ever wish you could taste samples from all the area's best chefs in one place? Then come to our Grand Taste experience on April 23rd at the Durham Armory. It will be an unforgettable night. Purchase VIP tickets to get access to a special reception beforehand, hosted by Andrea Roosing of Lantern Restaurant. You've heard of beer and wine dinners. Cider dinners are the next big thing. Look for ours on April 24th at Sarah P. Duke Gardens, featuring Foggy Ridge ciders. Also in April, we're hosting a family-friendly burger smashdown at Full Steam, an artisan cocktail dinner, and a dinner at Watts Grocery that explores the history of North Carolina food. Tickets are on sale now at tastetheevent.com. We can't wait to see you there.